Howdy. So I'm Hillbilly Heart, and Sabrina asked me to speak a little bit on the organic law. is can I call it that? The organic law. Okay, so if you are wanting to understand what organic really means, it means what they're fed, if they're crowded, how long they get to spend outside, and the certification levels they have for the farm. And that's what organic means. Why does that irritate me? Because it doesn't take into effect what's in the ground, how healthy the soil is, how healthy the grass is that they're being pasture fed, what water sources are near them, what watershed sources are underneath the ground, bringing anything that can shed off the mountains or off a higher plane into that soil. It doesn't talk about the animals that can cross the pasture, cross the area. It doesn't talk about mud, foot rot, if you got sheep, sore mouth. It doesn't address medications. It just says you reduce the amount of antibiotics these animals have. Well, a lot of organic farmers, sadly, will let their animals die for stupid reasons. If you don't know anything about cattle are ruminants. They have 4 stomachs. So if a cow doesn't have a lot of grazing area, they will just upchuck their last good meal, chew on it for a while, and throw it back down. They can literally almost digest anything better than a billy goat. But certain things make them upset. Why? Because cows can't pass gas. Listen to me. I know you've listened to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Alexandria Ocasio lacking a cortex. Anyway, cows have 4 stomachs and they can't fart. Now, a lot of their waste does have gases in it that when added to the soil, that goes into the soil and the sun, and the natural decomposition does release certain gases that, while some people might say it's dangerous to the atmosphere, it's actually really good for the soil. Do you know that our soil lacks nitrogen more than anything? Do you want to know why? Because things don't go back to the earth. So a lot of people would say, oh gosh, this is where things have decomposed. This is where ranchers have decomposed cattle for years or centuries. Oh my gosh, this land is horrible. No, that's probably some really healthy land. Because the land that we farm now is constantly being tested by soil conservation. It's constantly being saying, oh, you like this. It's got a soil compaction problem. It needs sharp-hooved animals, or you need to till it up to aerate it. Our soil is compacted so hard from running flat-hooved animals that it can't grow proper grass. It can't grow proper nutrition. And we have to get sharp-hooved animals to break that up, or plow, disc, and start over. And then we have to add nutrients and minerals back to the soil because we no longer give things back to the soil, namely ourselves and everything else. You want to see a healthy farm? See a healthy farm where a farmer has what I call bone pile. The bone pile allows those animals to go back to the earth and those nutrients spread out into the surrounding area. You will see the greenest grass. Now, you don't want to put it by a body of water. You want to be careful where you put it, but it adds a lot back to the earth. So organic is kind of a fly-by-night, make you feel good, but really does shit kind of word. Honestly, I'm just trying to be honest with you. It doesn't mean that the cows are pet. It doesn't mean that they are loved on. It doesn't mean that they are taken better care of. It just means that they're not crowded. But it really, honestly, if you look at most farms in America, they're not crowded. That's not talking of veal. Veal is baby cows put in cages until they get a certain size, which is small, to create, be slaughtered to create veal. So if you eat veal parmesan, shame on you. I've never ate veal. I will never eat veal. But we do butcher our own cattle. But we butcher cows that have been with us for years. They're healthy, but maybe they've gone out of where they can have healthy babies without having huge health issues. Or maybe we've got a bull that has broken a leg that even with surgical intervention or vet treatment is not going to heal. He's not going to be able to pack his 1.5 ton ass around, okay? We butcher those animals. We don't want to butcher our reproductive animals because those are the animals that make us money and create our new baby heifers that grow into cows, and then we get a new bull. and that bull dates those and makes more babies. You don't breed cousins. We are not the monarchy in England, okay? We don't breed cousins. You can get as upset at me as you want to when I'm saying this, but I'm telling the truth. So, what are some things you need to look at? Look at North Carolina. Look at the animals that are dying where the watershed came, and all the industrial waste and the radioactive waste and all those stupid like paper mills and stuff washed down, and anything that was at the crest, which crested at 40 foot at certain places, go read about it. Those animals are dying. People are dying. People are getting very sick. Horses' hooves and their shoes were melting off. Cattle were dropping dead. Dogs, the cadaver dogs, the first 10 that were in there, the last check, 6 of them were dead and the other 4 were very ill. Watershed is the most important thing. My father owns a farm in a valley. It banks a river. He has that fenced off. He doesn't want his cattle in the river. Number one, it's hard for him to get in and out of the river. Number two, we don't know what comes down from the hill in the river. So he backed way back in his property and dug a well, a cistern, for the cattle to have water and for us to have water in the event of an emergency. And we know that water comes from a separate well that is not inundated by the river and the runoff. We're lucky to have a lot of limestone quartz and stuff like that here. It is very, very, very clean. You just have to be careful because there are people that have organic farms that will not treat sick animals and will let them be in pain because they want to sell it as organic meat. But I will guarantee you that lots of times when you eat organic meat, you're eating meat from a cow that's been very sick, that has had trouble with its health, that probably is not at a super great weight, and that was butchered probably in its prime when it could have been a reproductive animal, creating a larger herd. And then the older ones that are still healthy, still have good meat, still have good muscling, still healthy animals, could have been butchered when they are no longer able to reproduce, or they're starting to have problems, joint problems, leg problems. Bulls have a lot of back end problems because they're mounting the heifers and the cattle, and sometimes a moray is not being sung in the background and they're not the happiest. It's animals for you. But you have to go below the soil to understand that organic means crap if you don't understand what's below the soil. Organic means crap if you don't understand the animals that can cross your land. Organic means crap if you don't understand that some diseases can keep going internally and affect the meat and the organs, and they don't want to give them antibiotics, but you're going to eat that meat. I would rather have a little dose of antibiotics and clean meat than a little dose of a disease and not so great meat. It's just something that you need to think about. So organic is more about, they're not crowded, which most farms are not crowded. If you see a farm, if you've seen my father's farm in my videos, they're not crowded. The certification level they have, which you pay for, money. And low use antibiotics, which normally means underweight cattle and that normally do have problems. They have bad feet, and they have strange issues sometimes. Organic does not always mean healthy. Organic means they were kind of left to their own devices on land that people don't understand. Now, there are some great organic farms that are combating these issues, but please look at what's going on in North Carolina, where they had to bring all the animals above the watershed crest. They had to dry lot them because they're very sick from being in the toxic waste that came down with Helene floods, and they're trying to save them. They're having to bring hay in from other areas because all the hay that was touched with the water is toxic. It is lethal. It will kill them. Goats, people, dogs, cattle, horses, they're all dying. And they're trying to take them as high up in the mountains as possible above that watershed, put them on clean land, dry lot them to control what they eat, and make them better. Because the real issue here is man. Organic farming is the way we did it back in the old days when we drove them west and they grazed on their land, and we returned them to the land when they died, and we watched for good water, and we watched for tainted water, and we watched for dead animals, and we watched for healthy animals, and we picked the land that had healthy tokens on it that we could see. Not all land is meant to be farmed, and not all people are meant to be farmers. And that goes for chickens. I've done chickens, horses, cattle, sheep, goats, pigs. I just have to think. And in my idea, in my understanding and what I've seen, I think organic farms are sometimes the harsher place for animals to live. They make you think that every other farmer has got 500 to a lot, they're living in mud, and they're unhappy, and that is false. That is false. And if you've not seen happy cows, go look at some of my videos and look at my father's happy cows. Organic is a word that they created to make you feel better about purchasing meat, because we have some kind of issue being carnivores now in this day and age. We have an issue being anything in this day and age. It makes you feel better, and you think the animal had a happier life. I disagree. All it means, certification, more money for the farmer, and really they're not supervised any more closely than regular farms. The animal itself, still having the same problems animals have. Would you rather want a vet to see it or not? And while most farmers hold back on antibiotics and try to do some homeopathic care for their animals, at times antibiotics are necessary. That just means you don't butcher that animal until those medications have cleared its system. Farmers are smarter than what you think they are, and the organic farmers, well, I've not met many I really like. So you can keep screaming organic, and I'm just going to eat a healthy cow from healthy land, and I'm going to watch all the other animals across the land, and I'm going to do it the old school way. And when I butcher that animal, I'm going to look at every organ. I'm going to make sure it's a healthy animal with no worms, no issues with the organs, no black spots, no anything that's questionable, no tumors. And you can buy what you want to buy from the grocery store. And if it says organic and costs 3 times as much and that makes you feel better, go right ahead. But just be aware, you're only getting half the story. Watch North Carolina, South Carolina, and the livestock issues they've got going on there. You will learn a lot. And that's my story on organic farming. Just for Sabrina.